Companies are really looking at CEOs to give the leadership that would be reflected in the character and the moral stature, if you will, of the company and of the brand. And when it works for them, they're an asset. But when it doesn't work, they become a liability. And oftentimes, if that behavior is in conflict with the character that you want that company to represent, that's when the stakeholders have to be concerned and become alarmed. And oftentimes, when you have a quirky personality or a leader who actually does things that is seen as a liability, it depends on really what resonates with the consumer, because it's all about how that behavior will really impact whether or not it becomes an asset, if you will, or becomes a deficit and really impacts the bottom line.
Look, every one of these cases is different, but since you're in crisis PR management, why don't we ask you, if you were giving advice to some of these examples, what would you tell them? Elon Musk at this point, because that company exists because of his huge personality. What would you tell him to do at this point?
Where you win is when you stand in the center of authenticity and really be organic to who you are.
Well, that's kind of what has gotten him in trouble, though. I think we know everything about who he is based on what he says and when he says it, these tweets that come at 2:30 in the morning.
It has, but he also has consumers that can relate to his behavior, consumers that are going through the very same thing that he's going through.
It's not the consumers I'd be worried about. It'd be the shareholders and the board at this point.
But the consumers keep the shareholders happy. So if the consumers don't abandon the company and continue to stand by Elon because there's something in his behavior that's relatable, the stakeholders will stand by him and weather through it.
The shares are down 15% from when he first came out with this tweet about funding secured. So what should he do right now? Should he still be talking and still be authentic and still be showing that off, or should he just shut up?
He should shut up, for sure. He should absolutely shut up. But he shouldn't come out and do anything that's not true to who he is. A lot of companies make that mistake. They put out talking points and messaging that is not reflective of who they really are, and the consumers can see through that inauthenticity as well.
I would imagine a lot of boards are looking at all this, maybe when they haven't had an issue, and they say, look, the CEO, just stay off social media, don't interact at all, don't be the face of the company.
Just lay low.
So is that a viable strategy these days or not?
It is a viable strategy. At times you have to pull back, you have to know when to be visible and be present, and you have to know when to pull back and really take in consideration the entire company and not just your own personal interest.
What about John Schnatter at the pizza company? I mean, this is a situation where he's not the CEO anymore, but he's still the major shareholder, and he's now kind of going after current management. How does this end, or is there any way that this can possibly end well for Papa John's?
His behavior shows that he should have been removed as the CEO. It shows that he really doesn't have the best interest of the company at hand. He really has his own personal interests, and his pride is really leading his decisions. So it's showing that that comment that he made on that call is really reflective of his true character and shows he's not fit to lead that company into the next generation.
So you tell what to the board? Just kind of keep your head down and power through this and hope
I'd say send him a check and make sure he is nowhere near the day-to-day operation or is connected in any way to the DNA of the forward vision of the company.